It's recap time. I bring you one more recap. Today we'll be explaining an action movie called The Wanted Man from 2024. Spoilers ahead. The movie starts off in an old warehouse where a cartel is making a deal. Amid this, two undercover DEA agents are on a mission to expose them. But things go wrong as the warehouse is raided by a force with a black mask on. They start shooting everyone in sight until there is no one left. But before taking the money, they see that the door to the outside is moving, instantly realizing that someone else was there as well. In fear that their escapees could be crucial witnesses, they run after them. Turning out to be two more hookers, they try to run for their lives. After an intense chase, the forces lose track of them as they hide, retreating with a failure to find them. After that, the scene shifts to a beach and a man on his daily routine workout after an accident, Johansson. After his workout, Joe cleans himself off and gets ready to work. Before leaving, he takes his medication and sees that there are news reporters outside the police department following an assault on an immigrant. Joe turns off the TV and leaves for work. There, he encounters the protesters, and the new reporter spots Joe. Everyone starts to run after him, but Joe makes his escape. In the police station, Officer Hiltz asks Joe to come over, but he decides to go towards Chief Hernandez's office. There, the chief asks him to sit down and shows him a video going viral on the internet. The footage showed Johansson assaulting a Mexican immigrant before being stopped by Officer Hiltz, who called the immigrant out, which made everything on the internet catch fire against him. There is a press conference being held to dig deep into the situation, but Johansson does not want to show up. Hernandez tells him that if he does not comply, he may lose his job along with his pension. Jonathan agrees, and as they are heading to the room, Hernandez debriefs him on a mission that he has been selected to do if he wants to save his badge, telling him that it was about the night of the attack on the cartel. The hookers that had run away were found shoplifting in Mexico and are being apprehended. Being the only eyewitnesses to the night, they are to be retrieved for questioning. For this, Johansson will be sent to Mexico, a place that he dislikes, but he agrees to do it. After apologizing at the conference, Johansson heads to a club for a drink. There he meets two of his colleagues, Hiltz and the retired officer Brenner. Both of them try to convince Johansson to call off the mission, emphasizing their common hatred for the Mexicans. Suddenly, another officer, Tinelli, shows up and starts to mock Johansson for taking the job. Drunk, Johansson leaves the bar, and when close to his truck, a car scratches it. The driver immediately comes out and apologizes, but turns out to be a Mexican. Even though he was revealed to be American by birth, Johansson does not treat the situation lightly, but before doing anything, he retreats and heads home. The next day, he heads to the Mexican border. Upon reaching the station, he is greeted by one of their best officers, De La Cruz, who briefly gives a heads up to Johansson about how things work around here, but he doesn't seem to enjoy it. Officer Cruz starts to explain his expertise, and he takes no interest. He asks that the girls were supposed to be here, and Officer Cruz takes Johansson with him to get them from the facility they were kept in for the crime of shoplifting. Reaching the facility, Johansson meets Rose and her friend Gomez, who starts yelling in Spanish, and continues to do so on their way. Johansson gives a call back in America, telling Hernandez that the girls are safe with him and will return shortly. But things take a dark turn when a police car starts following them. Getting next to the window, an officer shoots Cruz, killing him. As the car stops on the side, Johansson comes out and starts to shoot at them in defense. Amid this shootout, Rose's friend gets shot and dies. With Johansson wounded, he takes out Rose and asks her to bring the first aid kit, but she tries to pick up the gun to shoot, but decides to drop it. With Johansson on the ground, Rose returns with a kit and attends to her wound. And after that, Johansson passes out. After passing out, he wakes up in a bed, handcuffed next to a silent man. Rose comes in with her brother, who is an honest police officer. They tell him to rest and leave. Upon waking up again, he has his first meal, while the granny watches the drama. Back at the police station in America, things are in chaos as the news about Mexican cop shootings spreads like wildfire, and they can't find what has been going on. Chief Hernandez does not disclose much, even though he tries, as nothing much is known. Back in Mexico, Rose attends to Johansson and informs him that the ones after them could be with the cartel. Johansson asks her about what happened the night of the raid. Apparently, the masked men knew the DEA agents, saying that they worked together, making a possibility that they were American forces. With no way back, they hardly come to an understanding point, and Rose leaves. Rose is willing to give the information for safety, but Johansson can't be unlocked because the keys are with her brother. Rose gives her phone to call for backup. Calling Hernandez, he asks for backup and safety, who tells Johansson that the situation is against their favor, and Johansson reveals that the raid was American, and with that, Rose's brother returns. They have a meal together where further incidents of the cartel are explained. Rose's brother finds out what was the road assault incident, and Johansson is accused of the murder of Cruz and 2 officers, and denying any request to take Rose to America or let Johansson go until there are spies finding him. Rose and Miguel have a conversation about this, but it's too late as mobs come to their house and surround all over, requesting Rose to be handed over. And soon, firing erupts. They unlock Johansson, and he helps them fight off the mobs, but the cousin gets fatally wounded. Killing off the shooter, Johansson takes the keys and unlocks himself. Immediately helped them. Miguel is also shot, but before he is taken down, Johansson saves him. Out of bullets, Johansson takes a knife. A mob spots them and starts shooting, but Johansson, thinking on his feet, takes him down. Despite their efforts, one of them manages to escape. Miguel gives permission for both of them to leave. Saying her goodbyes to her family, before leaving, Rose's mother gives Johansson a charm and says something that their family goes by. Rose takes her leave. After a long journey, they reach a telephone. Rose gets mad at him because every time Johansson calls anyone, someone comes after them, putting Hernandez in a tight spot. Johansson agrees not to call him, but they both agree on someone else being contacted. Using their connections and bribery, they try to collect information and will make it to the border by midnight. They decide to stay at a motel for the night. During their meal, they start to have a connection as Johansson reveals that his name is Mike. But their meal is interrupted as the news states that Rose and Johansson are at large and armed. They decided to go to sleep. Waking up, they find someone at the door, which turns out to be Hiltz. But he is not alone. He came along with a backup. Hiltz explains the situation that is going on back in the US. They are all relieved that a backup is here, but Rose questions what really is going on. Getting ready and going out, they roll out. Johansson starts to explain what has been going on, and another long journey begins. Though things do not seem so light as their joy is soon interrupted as Rose asks about their current life, she notices the bracelet on Brenner's hand, matching the one on the wrist of the forces that raided the cartel, having flashbacks about that horrific incident. She turns to Johansson and repeats the words that her mother told him before leaving. Johansson understands that something is not right. Rose tells him that these are the American forces. Johansson comes up with a strategy to make their escape, but they are surrounded. He asks Brenner to stop the cars for a break. Johansson tells them there were officers involved in the cartel. Knowing that they have made a massive mistake, the trio decides to reveal themselves, and Tonelli gets Rose from the car. They propose that if they kill Rose, the past night will disappear, and Johansson can work with them. Johansson tries to convince them not to do it, trying to find a way out of it and save Rose. Hiltz agrees with Johansson and tries to stop Brenner from killing both of them, but Brenner accidentally shoots Hiltz in the stomach. Making use of this moment, Johansson attacks Tonelli, takes his gun, and shoots Brenner in the arm. Tonelli and Johansson get into a fight, but just as things seem in their favor, Johansson takes the gun and shoots Tonelli and Brenner. In his final breaths, Hiltz apologizes to G and succumbs to death. Johansson takes Rose to the car, and they both drive back to the market. Attending to the wounds of Johansson once again, the duo leaves for the border. Making their way from there once again, they finally reach America. Johansson, letting go of his hatred for the Mexicans, comes back to America with the immigrants. But in a turn of events, the sheriff arrives, surrounding them all. And Johansson tries to convince them. 5 months after this incident, Hernandez congratulates Johansson on his recovery and accommodations, stating that he has done great work. During their conversation, Rose is waiting for Johansson. They both catch up, and before she leaves, Johansson decides to take her out for coffee. And with that, the movie comes to a close. If you like this recap, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more movie recaps like this.